Here's a big story that got a lot of retweets from our page, and most of the retweets said, God, no. Steven Spielberg wants to remake West Side Story.
Really? I missed this. How did I
thought he just announce some other project too that he's doing? These guys announce 10 projects at a time. I mean, okay, well.
Well, he has the opposite problem of Roland Joffe. You see,
yes.
he's got too much lined up to choose from.
Yes. But what, he just announced a Walter Cronkite movie.
Did he really?
Walter Cronkite. I guess it's going to be set during the '68 Tet Offensive, and his big statement about the war's not winnable and so forth. So, but it's going to be written by the guy who did Bridge of Spies. One of the guys, not the Coen.
I bet you George Clooney ends up directing that, and Spielberg will produce because his plate is too full.
You're probably right. I mean, you're probably right. I mean, West Side Story doesn't. Of course, we don't need any remakes, but it is so perfect as a movie now that. There's just so many musicals that have never been made into movies, and recent ones that were big hits. That I would not, feel any need to go to West Side Story. But whatever, he can do whatever he wants.
Will it be like Lin-Manuel or that guy in it?
Oh, that guy's in it.
He should be thinking about how to film Hamilton. That's the biggest hit.
Right.
Right, but they're going to record Hamilton for Blu-ray releases. They're going to record these, his last couple performances, so everyone gets to see it, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, because not everyone's going to be.
Cool. I guess that'll negate it having to be made into a movie.
Well, I mean, if they can't. Let's look at some of the recent. You guys might disagree with me, but I never thought Rent was a great movie. I thought that was kind of disappointing after all the hype leading up,
That was
the
sad.
movie. And you know what other one I'm disappointed in? The movie version of the producers I thought was disappointing. It just sort of went on and on. And
because it was shot at almost like it was on a stage. It wasn't made cinematic. I think that I talked about this. What year is it? 2016. 6 years ago, because we reviewed the decade in film.
Right.
Jerry, you talked about, I think, your favorite directors from the decade.
Yeah.
Chris talked about his favorite films from the decade, and I talked about the top 10 trends of the decade. One of the trends was the musical has come back, but it's just a matter of time before we kill it again with a bunch of bad movies.
Right.
And that's kind of what's happened.
And we did that very well since then.
And I remember my number one trend was the return of 3D. And, yeah. It was
the only director that has really sort of risen to the challenge of reinvigorating musicals is his name John Carney, the guy who did Once and Begin Again a couple of years ago, and Sing Street this year.
Yeah, he's done a very good job, I think. I agree with you, Dean. But otherwise, it's been very
it's
shoddy.
It's rare to find someone who can really do a musical well. I mean, even Les Miserables, which has a huge fan base, I think they fudged that. I remember we went to go see that Christmas Day, and Anne Hathaway's big moment. And I remember a woman was going to the bathroom, and I almost yelled out, "You really want to miss this? The movie goes downhill after this. I promise you. You really want to miss? We had another 2 hours to go." I almost said, "You really want to go now?" Yeah.
Well, and what's his name? Rob Marshall. He's doing a sequel to Mary Poppins. With Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda. isn't it?
I'm kind of surprised.
And is it going to be a musical? Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
They're going to.
He does musicals. Yeah.
I know he does. I know he does musicals. Or at least
he did Chicago. Maybe Memoirs of a Geisha would have been better had it been a musical. I don't know. I mean.
Well, I mean, he did Chicago and did it very well, but that's an imitation.
Yeah, no,
that's an
true.
imitation of Fosse. So
well,
I mean,
we do have,
and he did a great imitation of Fosse. I'll say that.
Yeah, we do have is the movie by the guy who did Whiplash, La La Land, is that a musical?
Yes.
That's coming out. That
so
could
we'll
be
see.
very good. That could
yes,
be good.
we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I always thought that I mean, Spike Lee has never made I mean,
right.
with School Days,
the exception of Mo
close as he's come. But he has musical sequences and very misplaced one in Malcolm X, I think, and then a very good one in Chirac, I thought.
Oh, a superb one in Chirac, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, why doesn't he do a musical?
Yeah, I think he'd be a good director for a musical.
Yeah,
I'd love for them to keep making musicals of all kinds, whether they be edgy or old, or old fashioned, or I think it's a valuable art form that I don't want us to lose.
Right, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with you.
So I mean, my advice to Spielberg would be choose another project, a project that because West Side Story came along when musicals had never gone out on to shoot on location and stuff like that. So that's how that reinvigorated the musical. I mean, do we think we're really going to do any better? I don't know. There's just so many titles out there that have never been made, and if that's the case,
unless he's planning on doing something different with it, maybe he's planning to do some different kind of iteration on interracial relationships or something. I don't know. My advice would be combine the Walter Cronkite Ted Offensive story with West Side Story, and see what comes out.
When can I buy the ticket for that, man?
And I mean, Romeo and Juliet too. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, which of course is the basis of West Side Story. Well, that's already been updated by Baz Luhrmann
several times.
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be like a Baz Luhrmann-esque, West Side Story. Whatever. Hey,
I don't know. Let me say this about it, because this has just occurred to me. Spielberg is great at staging for the camera. So for that reason alone, I'd be excited to see a musical from him.